Hey, it's Hannah and Lisa from Good Company Consulting with today's Zoomside Chat. Our topic is the virtual work environment. There are a lot of feelings and a lot of opinions about what works, what doesn't work, what people think the future will look like, what it won't look like. So we're here to talk about some of our thoughts and opinions and feelings about the virtual work environment.
We've seen so many announcements recently too about like these huge organizations shifting their working policies to work from home. REI, Facebook, Twitter, so many organizations have decided that for the foreseeable future, at least, they're going to be working from home and have mostly remote workplaces, which is, to use the horrible word, unprecedented, because it really is. We did a poll on our LinkedIn, on our Instagram, very informal poll, where we asked people, as you're thinking about what would you prefer going into the future? Do you want virtual? Do you want a hybrid? Or do you want to go back to the office? The results were hybrid. People are wanting hybrid. And I know you have some thoughts about hybrid workplaces.
Yeah, I'm very skeptical of the hybrid virtual in-person work model. And that's not skepticism to say that I don't think it will work. I think it will. I wonder why people want the hybrid. What are the reasons that you want to be in the office? And what are the reasons that you want to be in a remote work environment? Because I feel like those driving forces of why people want the hybrid is where it can get really complicated for companies. Do you just need to get out of the house? Do you feel more motivated? Do you miss whiteboarding sessions? Do you just miss connecting with people? Hybrid is really, really hard, especially if you're trying to have meetings where some people are online and some people are in person, and it's easier to form bonds typically in person versus online. So are some people going to be at an advantage while others at a disadvantage? I'm skeptic. I'm a little skeptic.
So hybrid is out. Where would you have voted on that poll?
In person. But I think that's because I'm a little bit more extroverted than you. And I've noticed in my daily life, when I start connecting with people, I become very oddly energized and I walk away and I'm like, why are you so euphoric? And it's because I just had a conversation with someone that I don't usually have a conversation with. I would be more in person. And if the majority of the people I was with were saying virtual, I'd say virtual. The majority is way more important than my personal opinion.
The idea of introverted versus extroverted. I think a lot of introverted people are enjoying the virtual format. I know I am, but then there's this added layer of like in meetings when you have 20 people on a Zoom, as an introverted person, I find it hard to interject in that environment because it's so awkward when you try to get a word in and then someone speaks over you and then you do the like mute, unmute Zoom dance. If leaders aren't being super mindful about making sure that everyone is getting a chance to share their opinion, then some people can get easily talked over.
If you're in a meeting with 20 people, what would you want or need to feel like you could speak? Like rather than, because here is some of my preamble as to why I'm asking this question too, is like sometimes you can call on someone and it's like, oh, Lisa, did you have anything to add? You might be like, well, I did 15 minutes ago, but you didn't ask me then. What's the way to do that?
That's a really good question. I don't know that I have the answer to, but I know that you and I have talked about how the chat function is really powerful for people. And it's like a different way of processing. I am a writer, and so I think through my fingertips sometimes. So to be able to use that element to add ideas, throw things in there, I know it can be like a little bit sensory overload for some people, but I do think it offers a different vehicle through which people like me, more introverted, quiet, deliberative people can do their processing and then share ideas through the chat. And then I think the leader, the facilitator of the meeting has to be really mindful about monitoring all those things and opening the door for people to share if they haven't. It gets a little tricky because I hate it when I'm called on and I have nothing to say. And I just frankly have nothing to say. And they're like, Lisa, do you want to contribute to this meeting? Like, no, I don't have anything to say right now. So no one's going to get it like perfect, right? And perfect stupid goal anyway, because it's not a thing. But we're just going to keep learning how to do this. It is tough when you have that hybrid model because it's like, where is the overlap between when people are together? Because there's those magical moments of chatting at the water cooler or making coffee in the morning, having those conversations that lead to ideas and creative thoughts and even just building stronger teams. We don't have that anymore. So what is that going to look like? I don't know.
I know, I agree. I do think like just one idea as you're talking, and this is how we work a lot, is we're both working on something, but we're online at the same time. And that's when we'll start having random conversations about stuff where it's like, I just read this thing. What do you think? And there's part of me that's like millennial, let's all go in a room and work together, and can make fun of that. And I feel like that's a really powerful way to build that cooler conversation back in. It just takes being open to that kind of work environment.
It will be very, very interesting. I've heard as people talk about, what does the future look like as we move into whatever the new, I hate this phrase too, the new normal is, having overlap, like core hours where employees have to be on it. Let's say like 10 to 1 p.m. is the core hours, so that there's some forced overlap in a way. And for things like that, like you just talked about, I think that could be a very powerful thing to have, and then have the flexibility that everyone wants outside of those core hours.
Right. One more thing too that you talked about, which I think is really important, and it's why I'm skeptical of the hybrid model sometimes, is like the role of the facilitator is so, so, so important. And someone who's so intentional to look out for different things and read the chat, I think it makes the virtual work environment work. And so maybe that will just be a new opportunity for new training, for a new way to source ideas. It's a good way for people to step outside their comfort zone if they don't usually do that. So I think that's like a huge opportunity in that way. And maybe the leader isn't the right person to be the facilitator. Maybe it's someone else. So like other people can step into new roles.
A good facilitator is hard to find. So thank you all for listening in to our latest rendition of our Zoomside Chats. Tune in next time for when we talk about working parents, what the heck they're doing in this crazy world that we're living in. We're all going back to school, whatever that means, and nobody is feeling it quite as heavily as working parents. We're going to chat about what that means. We'll see you then.